only problem with effort is when we waste it and we struggle. What I discovered is what I call focused effort, which is using your energy and direction to move you toward what you really want.
When people are really going after what they really want, when they have the courage and the focus and they create that momentum to get what they really want in their lives, personally, professionally, when they're really going after it, that is what gets me going.
Fear is such a frequent companion on the path of personal change. And what I'm going to need is one courageous volunteer to come up on stage. So Tony is going to represent my fear. Ready? Go. What is it? What do you need? That fear that lives in our subconscious mind, if we try to battle it and fight it and push against it, the subconscious mind, as we know, is huge. Our conscious mind is just the tip of the iceberg. If we try to manipulate this subconscious mind with our conscious mind, this is going to win. How many folks here had their parents say, don't talk to strangers when you're a little kid? It's like just about every hand. Great advice. Don't talk to strangers when you're a little kid. Well, what happens when you grow up and you come to a conference like this? You get this little voice, don't talk to strangers. You're sitting over on the side of the room like this, looking around. It doesn't serve us too well.
My core message is really that success isn't so much what we've achieved, it's who we're becoming. And when we develop who we are, when we push our limits, when we know how to develop our courage and stay focused and create that momentum and create those wins in our lives, it develops who we are, and that leads us to being able to achieve whatever we want or whatever we want to go after.
In the early days of Rich Fettke's life, he seemed to be headed anywhere but extraordinary. At 8 years old, he was diagnosed as learning disabled, and his report cards repeatedly stated, lacks what it takes to succeed.
If you ever told me that I'd be speaking about success, much less write books about it, I would have thought, no way. My folks took me to Massachusetts General Hospital to have me tested. And after all these different tests and studies, they diagnosed me as learning disabled. They said I was hyperkinetic, which today they'd probably call attention deficit disorder, ADD. Having ADD is like having 20 television sets all in the same room, all on high volume, all on different shows, and trying to stay focused on one show. Pretty tough. So for me, school was brutal. I was constantly put in classes for learning disabled kids. And then I had the other kids in school saying, hey, Fettke, how's the retard class? So by the 8th grade, I started to really buy into this. I started to believe these kids who heckled me. And I told myself, you know, you're stupid, and you're never going to amount to anything. And it was, my high school graduation was really the worst, high school. I'm watching my friends. They're walking up on stage, getting their diplomas. They have these big smiles on their faces. And I'm not smiling because I'm up in the bleachers with this lump in my throat because I found out late in my senior year that I wasn't going to graduate. Then something happened that changed my life. My friend Jimma came up to me and said, hey, Rich, what do you think about being workout partners? Start lifting weights together. Sure, I'll start doing it. We set up this schedule, and we met down in the basement of his apartment complex every other day. Now, Jimma, he was over 250 pounds in junior high, and he was over 300 pounds in high school. So Jimma, like me, was laboring under his own heavy load of self-esteem challenges. But we started to meet down in his basement, and we started to set goals for how much we would weigh, how much we would lift, what we would look like. This whole process totally worked because Jimma went from over 300 pounds down to 176 pounds. And for me, I started to get this chest and these biceps. Even my walk started to change, you know? It did amazing things for my self-esteem. It taught me how to see what I want. It taught me how to be committed to an outcome. It taught me about having the power of partnership, having someone there to help and support me. I learned so many lessons from that. So that is a lot of what I want to share with you today. This whole process of doing this, of expanding who we are, being better, improving ourselves based on what we can do.
Rich would not be held back. He decided to push his limits. He developed a passion for working out that was so great he went on to become a national-level competitive bodybuilder. And then, at 23 years old, became the owner and president of a large health club franchise. At the same time, Rich continued on to earn a college degree in business management. But he didn't stop there. As an extreme sports athlete, Rich pushed his limits with just about everything he did. He went on to compete in ESPN's X Games, became a licensed skydiver, an accomplished rock climber, and he even bungee jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge.
Well, one of the wildest lessons I ever learned about business or life happened to me when I was 5,000 feet above the earth, free falling at over 120 miles per hour, and I couldn't find my ripcord. It was 1992, and doing my first solo skydive was the next big step for me in this pursuit I was on to push my limits, to really bring out more of who I really was, because I was discovering that success really isn't so much what we can achieve, it's really about who we can become. I was noticing that whenever I pushed myself to get out of my comfort zone, that it would start helping me in these other areas of my life. So my challenge here was to really push my limits and strengthen my courage. And I had done some pretty extreme things in the past. But the one thing for me that really brought up the most fear, that really got my knees starting to go, was the idea of jumping out of an airplane. So I head out to this drop zone. Drive out there, and I'm pretty darn scared. And I see my skydiving instructor. And this guy comes sauntering over. Comes over. How you doing? My name's Billy. He's got this deep southern drawl. Now imagine this guy. He's got about 3 days of scruff on his face. His hair's sticking up in every direction. And he's got this tattered T-shirt on, and it says, "Skydivers, good to the last drop." Okay. Billy looks at me and he goes, "So are you scared?" Totally cool, you know? "No, fine." He saw right through my act. I think he knew how terrified I really was. But he went over the safety instructions, what we had to do. He said, "Okay, Rich, there's a couple things you got to remember. If this goes wrong, you got to do this. If this goes wrong, you got to do this." And he said, "Also, you got to remember, you got to arch your body. You gotta arch, so your belly falls nice and flat, your face toward the ground." Okay, got that. He looks at me and says, "There's something else I want you to remember. If you ever start to panic or struggle, I want you to remember, stop, be aware, and resume control."